Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Before we get started, I guess all of you know that Herb Sheila is in the hospital. And speaking on behalf of the Planning Commission, I hope that we send out his prayers and I hope that he has a quick recovery and gets back to us quickly. So with that being said, let's move on. Let's have a roll call.
Okay, so Mr. Shilo is absent. Mr. Bakley,
Here.
Mr. Dixon,
Here.
Mr. Artisan,
Here.
Mr. Carter,
Here.
Mr. Lewis, Mr. Postles, Ms. Smith.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay, second on the agenda is approval of minutes. The meeting minutes of February 27th, 2025, meeting for approval. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Hearing a second, the motion is passed. Public comment period. Is anybody here that would like to address the commission? Hearing none, we'll move on to development applications. The first one we have is Dollar General PC3.
Do you want to come up? It's filling for my damage. For the three.
Morning, everyone. Should I stand next to Jeff? Good morning, Jeff Rakes from Stewart Group Consulting, and I'll be leading some of the discussion regarding, there's 4 development applications, and so I'm going to use this PowerPoint. This is the first time we're doing this, so be patient with the technology here a little bit. I've got some interactive things that just allow you, that sounds fancier than it is, it just allows you to look at a map in real time. So bear with us as we kind of work through this. So should we take, we'll just follow my PowerPoint, which I think follows your agenda. So these are the things that we're talking about. The first 7 items were the consent agenda. All those I think have been sent out, correct, Mackenzie? Okay. The second are the 4 applications. These are land developments. We consider them major development reviews. So what we'll do today or this morning is I'll lead you through each of these development applications, then lead you through our comments. We have 3 folks that go through each of these development applications, or sometimes by assignment. We work through them. And so what we do is communicate with Mackenzie. Yes?
Because of how we're going to.
Yes. Ooh, I can't.
You could just skip.
Yes.
Sorry.
No worries, no worries, no worries. Okay, so this is a spoiler alert. We're going to go to Dollar General. Don't look, right? So I'll lead just a little bit of the discussion. You can stop me at any point and say, hey, what about this? Or hey, I had a question about this, because obviously I think you've had these in your packet, so you may have had a chance to look at some of this stuff. So the first is Dollar General, and this is the applicant here is PC3DG Altoona. The developer is the the first is the developer, the second is the corporation. Obviously, Dollar General, we see them everywhere, right? So they're a huge company. This would be a new 7,500 square foot building. This was previously Pizza Hut, and it was raised in 2024, and many of you may know this site. So first is the project location. City of Altoona, not quite an acre, and it's on the northwest corner of East 25th and Juniata Gap Road. What I have there is just an aerial shot using Google Maps. I should have cited that here, but it gives you an idea of kind of where we're talking about. Again, former Pizza Hut location, mostly covered by pavement. It's a classic sort of urban sprawl style development, meaning that the building is pushed way back and it's mostly macadam in front of the building. The zoning for the site and for most of the surrounding properties is the neighborhood business district and the city's zoning ordinance. And surrounding land uses are consistent with that. What's interesting is that if you look south or west, I'm sorry, west and a little bit south actually, the surrounding land uses are zoned residential, and it's mostly single family. It's a great neighborhood on the western side of this development. Drainage for the site is City of Altoona and the stormwater system, and then ultimately into Spring Run. All right, so what are they proposing? The new Dollar General building will be elevated. So this, essentially, they're going to replace that building. So what you can see, and I should have brought a pointer. Doggone it. Yes, okay, great. Now my handshake, it's just how God made me. I'm not quite sure. But you can see here, this is the old building, this is the new building. So you can note the difference in the placement of the building on the parcel and the size of the building. So one thing they did is they worked with the city to elevate the building. So my guess is the finished grade or start of the building will be slightly higher than what's there. And I haven't been there in person, but I'm guessing, and it's fairly common to see that sometimes the height difference just sort of looks weird from the street. And my guess is the city said, hey, could you bring that up a little bit on the parcel? The building exterior, brick, cement board siding, faux shutters, and similar. The rear and right side, the metal panels, be the dark brown. We've all seen these Dollar Generals. They did do a slight change, I think, here to match or complement this. The McDonald's is would be, I guess, north, immediately north of this parcel. Removes one access. So the thing to look at here is that you've got two accesses here coming out, and I can't read that from here. What road is that, guys, on that right-hand side? That would be
north-south is East 25th.
East 25th. Thank you, David. So it removes one access here, so you can see this one. It's a little darker, a little easier to read. So they're eliminating this access here. The loading area is here, parallel to Juniata Gap Road. They've proposed 27 parking spaces, which is less than what's there now, I think. There is some new sidewalks along here and along here. In the back of the building, there are no sidewalks spec'd, and we'll talk about that in just a second. No employment estimate provided. In some of the other reviews, you'll see that some of the narratives talk about how many jobs they're creating or providing as part of the development. Landscaping and stormwater upgrades. So what's neat about this project, and we'll talk about this in a second, is that this parking lot's actually a little smaller, and they do some different things with landscaping. So they incorporate rain gardens and some other things that I think make it a little better. If there is such a thing as a better parking lot, I think it does do or at least addresses that in some way. Okay, so our comments are row here in the rear of the building. There's a row of trees. Am I on the right street there? Help me out, Mackenzie. That's I think 20. Is that 26? Yes, I can't see. East 26. So in the rear of the building, this is from their plans. What they've asked the city for is a waiver to not install a sidewalk here, which makes sense because when you look at it, I don't think there's a sidewalk on this side of the street. There is a sidewalk on this side of the street. And the other thing, or one of the reasons they're asking for the waiver is because they've got a row of trees there. So it actually serves as a buffer. But they talk a little bit about that in the narrative. Rerouting of some water right-of-ways and things like that. In terms, I think they originally had it back here. They moved it out here a little bit. Redevelopment of the site will result in a reduction in peak flow and stormwater due to current storms. So essentially, there was no stormwater management in the previous development. This one does have stormwater controls, so their peak flows are better than it was before. Again, leading me to say if there's such a thing as a better parking lot. The other comments, traffic generation expected is to be lower. This is based on, you can see these numbers here, 127 average daily trips versus 51 daily trips. So the impacts here don't seem as dramatic. ENS designed to be, they're obviously being reviewed by the Conservation District. And no, our sort of summary was no adverse impact properties that is consistent with the county's comprehensive plan. Let's see, recommendations. So this is the last slide for this development. The Water Authority to review this. These are things that we suggested that you let the municipality or the city know. Review rewriting the water line and new easement location. Revised access to Juniata Gap Road. Reviewed. Obviously, there'll be some HOP things there. ENS to be reviewed by the conservation. And we had no recommendations in terms of change. That's the prompt for discussion. You guys, any questions you may have, happy to talk about it.
Those trees along 26th, is that a dense buffer?
Actually, when you say dense, the trees on paper they do touch. But when you look at it, I think the aerials you can see there, you can see that they're fairly close. So they're reasonably close. They're reasonably close based on what I looked at on the plans.
When you said the building was elevated, you mean it was the floor level was elevated? Or
That's
the height of
the
building?
language they used in their application. So if you looked at elevated, so improved elevations, to me, that's the impression that I got.
Improved elevation.
Right. So
It looks better.
Looks better,
All right,
exactly.
okay.
So there's a difference in terms of their overall design of the building, and I think they work with the city to sort of work that out.
And could you show me where the sidewalks again are, please?
Sure. So they're doing a sidewalk, let's see, our road, let me go to a different one. Yeah, this is a little easier for me to see. So this is the sidewalk here, turns, this is at the intersection, and then sidewalk here on these
Right.
two sides of the building. This is the area that they asked for the waiver for the trees, and this is abutting this neighborhood that's here.
That's Mallow's warehouse.
What's that?
Mallow's warehouse is across the street.
Okay. Right here?
No, down across
here.
Juniata, yeah, right there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So there's a route for students to get to this. Okay.
Well, they did a good job in terms of of matching the sidewalks or considering sidewalks. They talked a little bit about that in the narrative. When we were looking at it, we'd love to see wider sidewalks. Sometimes the spec on those sidewalks, there's a big difference between, say, a 3-foot sidewalk and a 5-foot sidewalk if you're a pedestrian. But we were happy that they were making the effort in terms of connecting.
So is there any further questions? Do I hear a motion for approval
So
as
moved.
presented? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying yay.
Hey,
All those against say nay. No nays are heard, so the motion passes.
All right, thank you. The next is the Humane Society. They've are working on a different location. Interestingly enough, the application materials didn't say whether or not they were going to close the old one. So I don't know if they're going to have both or just one. But essentially, they've outgrown their old facility. Looked at their website. Of course, did some, sort of the drive-by thing with Google Street View. But what they're proposing is a 20,000 square foot building. Will include dog and cat kennels, veterinary clinic, and administrative offices. And simply, they've outgrown their current facility. The location here, obviously, Antis Township, it's about a 6-acre site. And this is actually, they're building the building on, they own 3 parcels out there. They're putting this building on 2 of them. And they're the ones that would be furthest north. So if you look at how this parcel, this is not accurate, but I just wanted to give you an idea, something easy to see. But essentially, the parcel they're not building on is here. And then there's a right-of-way that cuts through this to be able to access this parcel back here. And so they're building here, roughly. Let's look at some of the site characteristics. So currently the site is vacant. It's wooded, it's got some natural vegetation. There's some open areas there. I think at some point the property, there was some residential structures there that were torn down. They talk a little bit about that in the narrative. Surrounding land use is large lot residential. You saw that from the aerial. There is a small mobile home park across Old 6th Avenue Road. It's I talked about this, access to the 87-acre, which is behind this parcel, or these parcels. Prime farmland and steep slopes are proximal. There, you have, this is the unrelated parcel here. Here's the access, and then this is the parcel we'll be talking about in terms of their development. You can see some prime farmlands, which is noted here, and it's right in that area. And it's in the Little Juniata River Basin. If I'm not mistaken, Little Juniata is behind this, I think. If you look, I think on the map, is Little Juniata behind this?
Yeah.
Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, actually, there's a little mountain there, and then it gets down.
It gets real steep, yep. Oh, geez, that's a little hard to see. Okay, proposed development, what's proposed? A 1-story building, office space, veterinary suites, dog kennels, and cat kennels. Paved parking area, 55 spaces. Stormwater detention facilities are proposed south of the building, and you would see those on the plans. They talk a little bit about what they're going to be employing there, 22 employees estimated by applicant. And there's a dog walking area and some landscaped areas with paths, I think, for dog walking near the facility. Obviously, with this particular use, they will need that. 1.77 acres of new impervious surface. Obviously, there's nothing there now, so this would be what's proposed. Detention proposed with development. It's going to require some permitting, exemption from DEP. Proposed connection with SR will require HOPs. Obviously, they've got 2 connections here. A little bit awkward in terms of do they need that? I'm not sure, but they'll be working that through the HOP process with the district. Our conclusion was no significant adverse impacts, properties in the vicinity, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Recommendation, review final plans, 2 access point to be reviewed by PennDOT, NDPES, permit to be reviewed by DEP. No recommended changes to this particular development as proposed. I think that's it. Yeah. Any questions or thoughts?
I think it's good they located in the woods in a centralized location. Those places can be kind of noisy, and I think it's a good site, and I think they did a good job putting in that area. It kind of is it a building kind of centered on the site, so it's buffered by woods on each side for future neighbors, and I think it's a good plan.
Or even room to expand if they wanted to. I think I got the impression they've owned this property for a while.
They have.
Yeah, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it's been all that long,
It's
because it was
been,
up for sale for a while.
it's been within the year since the grant,
Yeah,
since they
but
got
it's-
the grant, they
Yeah,
purchased
that's when
the
it
property.
was actually, I guess, gifted to them, because it was up for sale. So I was going to buy it.
Oh. It's been since It's been since the award since 2023, so they bought it sometime
Interest in
last
place
year.
goes into dogs.
Yeah, that's it. I have place an interest and place goes with the dogs. Okay. Thanks, Dave. Do I hear a motion to approve this application?
I move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing
sorry, I
no
didn't-
nays, everything passes.
I didn't get who,
The first and second.
I got the second, I didn't get the first.
Who was
And
the
then Pat.
Thank you, sorry.
All right, on my PowerPoint, this is the first one we're going to review. This is actually the third one we're going to review. So this is a charter academy. This was an interesting application. It's proposed by Lautner and Patel developers out of Harrisburg, PA. A brand new 20, now this is the footprint, roughly a 20,000 square foot building, 2-story. If you calculate it twice because it's 2 stories, it roughly is 40,000 square feet. Commonwealth Charter Academy, just basic desktop research. It looks to me like it's this is actually taken from the website, Pennsylvania-based K through 12 cyber charter school that delivers online education to students across the state. They did a pretty good job of describing this use. Often with these things, it's a little hard to understand if people are coming to class or are they doing it online. I was still not 100% clear in their application, but the website did give me a little bit of a window into kind of what they're doing. And you can see these things are all over the state. They've got a bunch of locations in different places. They're proposing with this development an additional, or an addition to the workforce of 78 new employees, their estimate. And then the location, that's a little hard to see, guys. I apologize. This is, I'll make that brighter next time. So this is where it is. It's in a unique location along Plank Road. It looks to me like I know it's on top of a hill. It's up behind these businesses here. Southwest quadrant of 199 or Plank Road. It's a 44 acre site in Allegheny Township.
Is that Sheridan Street?
Sheridan Road,
Drive,
Sheridan
Drive.
Drive. We'll look at that in a little bit.
It's right up behind Southern Island.
Yeah, behind Southern Alleghenies.
I need to zoom
It's
in
up
on
there,
that.
right?
Yes.
On the right.
Behind Southern Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the right.
Yeah, you know that road goes up, it just stubs off. This will be the next lot up.
And this is another planning commission, I think Southern Alleghenies.
Yes.
Commission here, and then Sheridan Road just kind of comes up here, so they're proposing an extension of Sheridan Road to be able to access their development. Because of the steep slopes, you'll see this just outside city, Logan Tennessee, just outside. So I just wanted to point out, there is, we're right along the border, so you can see this parcel here, this map, the city's close to the city, and then Logan Township, so kind of near 2 borders here. And then we talk a little bit about the extension of Sheridan Road. You can see how this works here. So this, I think, is the Planning Commission. Is that right, David? I can't read that. Okay. And then this is the extension of Sheridan Road. Due to elevation, they kind of snake this thing around so that they can keep their 8% on the road. So there's roughly 2,000 linear feet, 24 foot wide. 183 parking spaces proposed for this building. And this development is located on only about a third of the parcel. One of the things that I think they discuss or have on a set of plans that led me to believe they're considering post-construction expansion at some point. So they're kind of thinking about that. You'll see them put something roughly here. They would access public water and sewage, and would of course need to demonstrate that in their application to the municipality. Undeveloped hilltop, so there's nothing there now. It's a wooded site. Plank Road, the land uses are commercial, small and large scale commercial. Interestingly, there's nothing back here, and I think it's probably due to how steep it is, I'm guessing. And then there's nothing back here, and then just this giant cemetery here, and then of course the commercial uses there. Access roads, of Horseshoe Curve, we talked about that. This was interesting. There's multiple basins here, or watersheds. Brush Run, Mill Run, Beaver Dam Branch, and unnamed tributaries. And you'll see it gets a little complicated in their when they start talking about what they're going to do with water. So they have a boatload of detention ponds and some in terms of stormwater management. You can see this again on their plans. So our comments are bulleted here. Removal of woodland, grading will alter the landscape so it'll look different than it does now. And then we talked about the stormwater facilities. You can see, I think there's 1, 2, 3, and then I thought there was one, oh, there. Drainage for each basin, assessment of traffic impacts not included in the submission. This is, so they call this, I think in the narrative they call it a office building, and then on the plans they call it a facility. So the use designation there is a little hard to make because often we depend on the applicant to help us define the use and fit it into a category. In this particular instance, and I've had another experience with a charter school, it was a parking issue. The commission was very worried that they were going to have a lot of people coming up and there wasn't going to be places for them to park. What the applicant in that case assured us was it was purely sidewalk. In this instance, they have a huge parking lot. Actually, the parking lot is spec'd in their saldo. And so it's, if you look at their parking calculations in their saldo, they're right where they need to be if it's an office. If it's a different use, then it may need more parking or it could need less. But the point here is, and you'll see this in the recommendations, we need a little bit of clarity in terms of use. Impacts, obviously, if this is a high traffic location, there's going to be a lot of trip generation, and this would affect traffic on Plank Road or at Sheridan, or where Sheridan intersects. And so this would need to be considered in the HOP. Large calculation, complicated, I covered that. Lack of clarity regarding ownership. This was just interesting. We're not quite sure. Typically on the cover page, we have a clear delineation of who owns the property and that they're on board with what's happening in terms of this proposal. And that's to prevent people from making proposals for other people's property. In this particular, there's a little lack of clarity. One of the recommendations is to clean that up before approval. Consistency with a comprehensive plan. This is interesting, and this is true of 2 of the developments that are on the agenda today. It's kind of, on one hand, you have this, and on the other hand, you have this. So the proposed development is mixed in how it addresses priorities. Development will provide a facility for educational institution. You can think about in terms of making people smarter, right? And assisting workforce development, things like that. But it is in a wooded greenfield and takes out natural assets. So it misses the opportunity to locate in a previously developed area, maybe reuse, say, think about the Peace Hut location and Dollar General reusing what's already there. So it's kind of a yin and a yang there. So the recommendations here require full stormwater plan that wasn't included with this application, more details to understand traffic impacts, and the proposed parking, whether or not it's necessary, and if it could be done a different way. Again, if you look at this is what I took, what I understood, or we understood, as a potential for additional. So the parking would make sense if you have additional development there. But to me, you need to know the use in order to understand the parking demands for this building. And then simple ownership information. So those would be the recommendations to the municipality.
It's almost like a call center, isn't it?
It is, yep. No connectivity.
So they're building a parking for an office building, and they're building the correct amount of parking spaces as required by code for the, right?
Kind of. As far as we can tell.
So in the future, this facility will only last for 10 years, and it's going to be in office buildings for somebody else in the future, which is going to require that. So they're doing the right thing, right?
Yes, you could, yes.
And if they build less parking, then, you know, the next people that come in and use the building as an office, they sell it to somebody else, there won't be enough parking.
Yes, I see the logic
So
in
we
it.
have to do it, right? I mean, it has to be done this way, right?
It is the reason, so I agree with you. I think the thing that was throwing us a curve in terms of the review was that we just weren't clear what the defined use is. Like, I was just struggling to put them in a category. Are they an office, or is it a school, or is it what they call a facility? If it's a facility, what's it a facility for? So it's just lack of clarity there. And in terms of to be able to do the calculation, again, we're way out of our depth here. We're a county planning commission. We're doing the parking calculations for the municipality. But we just were trying to play with it to see why in the world there was such a huge parking load. I mean, it's a lot of parking. So again, it makes sense if it's a school and everybody's going to school there every day. But I couldn't make that determination. So I would ask, if I were the local municipality, I would ask the applicant for more details so that I could make that determination. Now, they're probably going to do that, I'm sure, but it's good due diligence.
And they've not asked for relief on the parking.
They have not. Not to my knowledge. It wasn't noted in the
Probably it could
application.
be considered like a spec office building or an investment in a sense, you know. They're better put this in there now, it could be something else. I mean, maybe
Down
they're
the
just
road.
protecting their investment. The amount of money they're putting into that road and everything has to be able to be a sellable piece of property in the future, so. But you're right, I don't know why, you know, that's out in the middle of the woods, you know, it's like a different,
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. But
Now, I've got a question for you all that know this terrain better. Would you be able to see this from 99?
You could, depending on how they build
If
it,
they cleared it,
what they clear out of
Back
it. You know, because it sets up.
It sets up.
Yeah, it's really high, and
It would have been a great place for a prison.
No, it wouldn't have. No, it wouldn't have. We looked at it, we walked up there and it was so steep. We were worried about the food trucks coming in and how are we gonna get them up there?
Well, you could build a road like that.
Well, it was even worse than that, what we were gonna have.
Oh,
to
I
do.
can imagine. I could buy there all the time.
Yeah, so
That's,
it was like, no way. The infrastructure costs would have been more than the building itself. It was ridiculous.
the only thing I would comment on would be, you know, you said about, it looked like they were possibly proposing to do an addition here. I would recommend that their calculations for these stormwater facilities would calculate that as being impervious
Yeah.
in case there is expansion.
Especially if they're gonna clear it already.
so I agree 100%. Something tells
That
me,
water's gonna all run
and
down.
I'm not a
Well,
stormwater
that's
engineer,
what
so I'm
I
out of my
fear.
depth here.
That's
Here.
gonna all run downhill.
This is going to be like a river,
Yes.
For sure.
and it's
And that
it's going to come flying through there. It's going
That
to be like
intersection is that really bad intersection at Target where it constantly gets backed up for a very long time. So I was thinking the same as you. That water slide that it's gonna create is
Yeah.
gonna
during rains. It's going to be a fun water ride.
yeah.
Well, and another issue that when we were looking into that for a possible prison location, we talked to PennDOT and they were inferring that we might have to make changes to the whole intersection because of all the
Oh,
different
yeah,
things.
of the runoff.
And I'm like, no, we don't want to get into all of that. So these folks might have some issue with it too.
Well, not
depending
only
on
that,
whether
but
the
if
traffic is.
if there's traffic impact, you know, you're
Yeah.
probably
I
going
don't
to have to
think there's a
change
drain
that whole
there
signal
now.
system.
That's what we were told that we would
I think in
have to
the
do. So
parking
we were
lots
like,
that are meetings, there is one on the river one.
Yeah, they'll have to have drains.
We'll only use it at night.
You don't have to put drains in the bottom there, the lights.
Well,
If they're runoffs.
the thing of it is, it have to calculate the area
Yes.
flow. If those pipes down at the bottom
Bottom.
aren't big enough, they would have to rerun a whole new storm sewer.
Yeah,
pick
whole
up
new
that.
run.
That's I can imagine you get a pretty good rain
Aren't
on
there
there.
plans needed though for forest to, you know, like, they just can't cut those trees right, doesn't,
If they're building,
Yes.
they got a lot more freedom if they're building
so,
something.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
They can't just clear cut, but if
They
they're
can't,
gonna build, they're
they
allowed
can't
to.
just clear cut.
No.
No. I mean, they have a lot of work to do there.
They do.
Is this Altoona or Logan Township?
Allegheny.
Allegheny.
Township, and they don't
Allegheny.
have any plans or future plans for, let's say, an office park or something like that up there? I mean, is that?
already is
Number
that.
one,
Could it,
Allegheny
I mean, now that they're
Township.
cutting all this infrastructure, this road and everything up there, is that able to expand outward into that area, you know, put high-rise buildings, you know?
Right.
Not with the topography, but yeah, it'd be possible. And look at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, anything could happen up there, now that they're, you know, they're getting into that, maybe they need to figure out some controls or something for that area. Look at how much land's up there. Somebody might be thinking ahead, they might be thinking way ahead of us. Or maybe it's gonna become a Bitcoin, you know, processing facility.
Does work.
Wow.
Is there any further questions or comments?
Here.
That's really going.
You know that picture.
Oh, good. So we're using online.
Do,
It was on the slideshow version.
It works.
do I hear a recommendation to approve this application and adding in the stormwater calculations to include the possible build-out into their calculations for their stormwater retention system? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
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 All those against say nay.
Nay.
I hear one nay. Any others? Motion passes.
I have to leave everybody to get to our commissioner meeting, but it's good seeing you all.
Good seeing
See
you
next
too.
month.
Good luck on the prison.
Yeah.
Hey, that's, well, we've got a couple other places we're looking
That's
at.
good. Hey, don't do that one that by the over there at Margaret Avenue.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that
No.
has contamination problems. You'd spend your whole budget just cleaning it up.
That's right. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, let's head to the next application. Commonwealth Center, oh, that was that one. Okay. BL Hyman Hollow Solar Project.
Correct. So this is in Greenfield Township. The application is submitted by BL Heilman LLC, doing business as Ampliform. Just this little desktop research, looked at the website. Obviously, they're in the solar business. This proposal, brief, we'll talk a little bit about the project in a little more detail. 20 megawatts, photovoltaic solar farm. There's really 3 solar arrays. What they've done is broken up, wait till you see the property boundaries if you had a chance to look at it. They've broken it up into really 3 areas. They have a northern, southern, and central. And I don't know why this was not previously a Pizza Hut. This that was a leftover from the other slide. All right, approximately 1.5 miles west of Claysburg. You can see Claysburg here on the map. It's a little difficult to see, but you can see. Now this is not a surveyed thing. This is Jeff working with Google Maps just so that you can have a rough idea of where this is. It's highly sort of rural area back here, and it's a combination of about, I think, 5 parcels, I think. It's a 152-acre site, and it straddles Buttermilk Hollow Road and Ski Gap Road, both of which are state routes. Site characteristics, 5 parcels of land. It's a mix of farm, meadow, and woodland. Surrounding land use is rural residential. If you've been out there, you kind of know this. It's a large lot residential development out there. What development is there? The site is rolling with slopes that are from gentle to 20%. So there are some steep slopes there. You see those noted here in the darker colors. There's also some ag or prime farmland marked here too. 3 areas for arrays. The southern is 57, the central is 49, and the northern is 46. We'll look at those in a little more detail with some plan views here. 152 acres of the area, acres of disturbance. Identified flood hazard or wetlands, but project area that avoids all of these. So what's interesting about this application is they seem to be doing good due diligence in terms of the placement of the solar arrays. For instance, they're using some previously cleared land versus just clear cutting things and putting in the solar arrays. So it looks to me like it was sort of a strategic approach to how they use the property. Is that?
So the Heilmans have been subdividing their property. It's a massive, massive property. They've been subdividing it now for a couple of years to parcel it, like he said, kind of strategically for this purpose. Ampliform is the company that came in and spoke to you all about the solar development previously. That was the BL Diamond one that was also in Claysburg. This is the part 2 of that, essentially.
That's great background.
Sorry.
I saw it when I Googled it. It popped up in January, I think, of 2024.
Yes.
Had some quotes from you in there. So good. So they've been here before. 20 megawatt, just some details. Have 39,101 solar modules or panels. And they've got some technology there that allows them to track, and so that so they can get the maximum use or generation out of the panels. They talk about hip pile beams being driven in terms of how they're attached. I've given you guys more detail here. The reason we did that is because we were paying attention to the last time that you talked about solar. It's like, hey, let's give more detail here. Typical arrays, 10 feet in height, internal roadways, okay? Because remember, we talked about that with this last development. These are 16 foot wide, not impervious surface, it's gravel. But they have to be able to build and then access their arrays once they're in place. Plan profile, 13,700 constructed roadways. All those little discrepancy between the narrative and the plans. Not the first time that's happened. All right, so the proposed development here, so you can see it's a little hard to be able to read this. I'm trusting that you maybe know this geography a little bit, but just to point out a couple things here. This is our Ski Gap Road here, and then, am I right if I say Buttermilk Road? So what is the road that comes in? What is this? There's a road that comes in right there. What is that?
I think it's Heilman Lane, but I'm
That's
not sure.
Heilman Hollow Road.
Thank you. Okay, good. Because we'll talk about that in a second in terms of where they intersect with Ski Gap Road, because there could be some suggestions there. Roadway serving northern array, access Ski Gap Road, truck deliveries, range. This was interesting though. They were talking about the construction. And again, we brought that up in the last solar array discussion. So truck deliveries range from 2 to 5 semis per working day during the construction process. Cooperate with the township and school districts to minimize interference. Fairly standard there, but I appreciated the due diligence. 6 to 12 months to get constructed. And this is off the web. They didn't include this. But I just wanted to get a sense of, okay, for this much solar, how much does it generate, like in practical terms, so I can understand it. And so this is what we found, roughly 5,000 homes. They talk about 3,500 for one this size. Lifespan is 25 to 30 years. It's difficult for me. Denny knows, he's a better expert on these things than I am. But one of the points that he made is that we have to remember these aren't permanent. Nothing's permanent. But they actually talk about the demise and the sort of downgrade of the project. So this is, if you can consider 25 to 30 years of temporary land use, okay, fine. But it is something that they plan on decommissioning at some point. And it's important to sort of remember that. And the reason for that, the reason it's important is because when we talk about consistency with a comp plan, preserving farmland is a huge priority. But at the same time, energy resources and cultivating a good infrastructure for those kind of things is also important. So that conflict, you have to sort of weigh these things in terms of in light of the comprehensive plan.
Is it-
No employment information, yes.
Is that 25 years based on the lifespan of the panels themselves? Which means they could be replaced.
I had the exact same question. So in there, do you know anything about this, Mackenzie?
So from what I understand from when the gentleman from Ampliform was here previously, yes, they can be replaced. That lifespan does not include replacing the panels. That lifespan is of the panels themselves. So
That's
25 to 30 years of the panels. Also, Greenfield Township, you're gonna mention it. I was just sorry.
That's okay.
I saw you had on there, they have, in their saldo, they have a solar ordinance where the decommissioning plan is required, and they did submit a decommissioning plan for this as well, so it's all included.
Yeah, these folks know what they're doing
Yeah.
in terms of their due diligence. It was like 80 pages in that supplemental.
Yes.
Like, it's unbelievable.
So essentially, the site and its infrastructure have valued over the 25 years.
Yes.
That's good.
So the existing regulations that Mackenzie referenced here, they do have a saldo, and it has, and solar and electric facilities are in the ordinance, are applicable to this project, so it is something that would be triggered, enacted in 2023. And in terms of, we use the word moderate level of regulations, it's essentially where it is. Like, it's not overly regulatory, but it does have some nice things in it, like a decommissioning requirement, or plan for decommissioning, that is good. And I think the other thing for the municipality, it's nice that they have a solar ordinance, and they don't just go, well, geez, how do we fit this into our sort of development plans? There's a requirement for a perimeter fence, barrier, this is all their requirements, on-site electrical lines, 50 foot for buffers, decommissioning, and so on. Consistency with the county comprehensive plan, this is just something I wanted to mention. Again, this is similar to the other project that we looked at. Doesn't directly address solar power, and if you search solar in your comprehensive plan, I don't think anything pops up. I couldn't find anything. However, it indirectly addresses solar projects. So for instance, concerns about business losses, need for dynamic business environment, the solar project would contribute to the local economy, construction, and an additional source of energy. Priority for natural assets, this is that sort of conflict there, removing a wooded area. And then this is evident from the development plans, this was the idea that it was a little bit strategic versus just clear cutting and putting in their infrastructure. Solar occupies some lands we use, and then this is the 25 to 30 years, so ideally, that if that's the priority, theoretically, if it's not just replaced with a new thing, it could go back into to ag use. Our comments here, detailed plans analysis were submitted into compliance for VNS control and post-construction stormwater management, infiltration basins. These are all over the plan. It's a very considered approach in terms of stormwater management. We talked a bit about that in the last discussion for the solar application. Roads providing access, our state routes, HOP obviously are going to be important. There are two potential concerns. First is southern and central arrays access roadway will intersect on opposite sides of Government Hollow Road at an offset instead of being aligned. As you know, the standard and for traffic engineers is to have your intersections with the roadway are opposed. They're directly across from each other. The offset, most traffic engineers, I think, would argue is less efficient than being directly across from each other. So if you look at this, they've got an intersection here with their access roads. Now, granted, there's not going to be tons of traffic, right? But it could potentially be a safety concern. So when they go for their HOPs here, our recommendation is that you include some language to say, is this something that should be considered? The other is the intersection, which is here, with Ski Gap Road, minimal separation distance. This is just in your access points, just allowing room between your intersections to allow cars to get into the flow of traffic without it being part of navigating the intersection itself. So there's minimal separation distance at the intersection of Hillsborough Lane. It's hard to see on that drawing. It's way down here at the bottom. Further comments, lots of comments here. I think there's 4 slides of comments. PNDI, constant turned up, species of concern. There's an Indiana bat out there, and some eagles and other bird species. And again, they talk about this, they're aware of this. This is in their application. More comments, make changes. This is just it's a formatting thing. What we noticed is that the approval blank should indicate approval by the township under the township, not the county saldo. Minor thing, but probably worth asking them to revise this when resubmitted and noting it in your comments and reviewed by the Blair County Planning Commission without reference to the county saldo. Obviously, their saldo takes precedence because local always trumps county, unfortunately. There should be property owner certifications for all the owners. This is similar to the comment before. Plan's been submitted to Blair County, has certification for the Helmer property, but does not for the Burkett properties. So recommendations, PennDOT to review the alignment, the road access things that we talked about, ENS control reviewed by the Conservation District, details and preliminary to should be addressed in final plan materials, and Greenfield Township to review their ordinance. So essentially use their ordinance to ensure good development for this proposal. That is the last slide.
So regarding the stormwater, you
Yes.
said there were multiple rain gardens. But
Yes.
Isn't a solar panel field similar to a large parking lot with regard to impervious runoff?
Yes.
It
So
does.
They have to put in, so is there going to be an engineering study for, or is there something that has to incorporate retention ponds, or is it with the?
Yeah,
gardens be
they would have
sufficient?
to, they would have to do a calculation on runoff and design their retention system accordingly.
So right now they just have multiple rain gardens, right? According
Well,
to-
rain gardens can be calculated
in
into
can be, so that's already been addressed then, I take it.
Well, if they abandon that property, do they have to replant the trees or something to help?
They have to return the property back to its original state.
Need to be stated or?
It's in the decommissioning.
It should be,
plan.
yeah, it should be in their ordinances.
Okay.
They don't mention anything about maintenance, employees, manpower.
They don't. I didn't see anything in there because when we were looking at the application,
Well, things
Go ahead.
grow, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Things grow,
sure,
trees, plants, all kinds of things.
who's going to take care of it, make sure it doesn't get overgrown?
Yeah,
There would be a market interest a little bit, right? Because if the tree covered up your array and all of a sudden it doesn't generate.
that's right.
Yeah,
Well, I was wondering if an angry, property owner next to him could plant, very tall pine trees, right in the sun, as a,
Just-
and is that covered under any kind of regulation?
I don't know the answer. Not for the county, but maybe locally.
I wonder if there's any residual heat from them.
Well, you would think there would be some sort of a heat factor, especially in the summertime because they're black,
Yeah,
so. But, apparently it must not be a factor because, if they're everywhere, so.
Another question I had was whether, all these fields connected by underground electric, and other right-of-ways between all the panels, all the different properties to connect everything electrically, or does it all go overhead, or, how do they connect it all together and put it in the system?
I don't know the answer.
Just a curiosity.
I'm curious too. I can only imagine it would be underground, I would think, right?
You're connecting a whole bunch of them together,
I
there
think
should
it
be
is.
right of ways between all the different pieces, parcels.
Serial or parallel.
Yeah.
Was that yours? But I don't know about this one.
That's what they're,
I assume too.
but I don't wanna.
Sure somebody's figured it all out already.
Do we have any more questions or debate items? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve this application. Do I have a motion to approve with all recommendations and comments as per staff? Do I hear a motion?
I move.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say yay.
Yeah.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So number 8 on your agenda are the staff level development reviews. Jeff briefly touched on them at the beginning of his presentation. These have all been sent out to you via email. This does include the ones from last month when we weren't here. So those are the ones that you have received in the time since our last meeting. Do I have any questions on those?
Any questions, comments? Do I hear a motion to approve the staff level approvals?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, the motion passes.
All right, number 9 on your agenda also came to you via email. This was for a zoning ordinance amendment for Tyrone Borough to amend their town center commercial district, which is like their downtown district, to permit drive-through windows in eating and drinking establishments. My only comments were that, as you can see up here, affected businesses that wish to include drive-through windows will still be subject to additional considerations of overall walkability and connectivity to the surrounding community and transportation network, as well as vehicle maneuverability within the site. However, given those parameters, we did not anticipate any negative long-term impacts as a result of the zoning ordinance or the amendment to the zoning ordinance. But again, this one came out to you, I believe, toward the end of March, I think. Toward the end of March. And if we would have had a meeting, it would have been in our March meeting, but I sent this out as a late kind of consent item. But do we have any comments or any questions on this one?
I think you covered them all well.
Do I hear a motion to approve the amendment as stated?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, the motion passes.
Did I have the agenda? Number 10 is the regional greenways update. So Southern Alleghenies requested a letter of support and a resolution to accompany the grant application for their greenways, trails, and recreation program. So I have the letter of support. That was, I believe this also came out to you via email, just to review. I'm not sure if we need a resolution, so I don't know. Dave might know better than me, or he might be able to explain the situation a little better than I.
Definitely, let's go over the letter first, then we'll get to the resolution.
Oh, okay. So they were just asking for a letter of support for the plan, or for the grant, that will fund 85% of the $250,000 project cost. Our letter, this was consistent with our comprehensive plan, including several of the priorities that are listed in Alleghenies Ahead, including collaboration and coordination, attention to agriculture, public health and safety. It would also, the funding for this would also assist Blair County specifically in achieving the goals that are set forward in Alleghenies Ahead. So because of that, this was consistent with our comprehensive plan. So that's all that the letter of support said.
Let's do a motion on that before we get to the resolution.
Do I hear a motion to approve the Regional Greenways Plan update?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
Okay, Part B, with this, there's always a match when there's grant funding that's offered by the state, or the feds for that matter. This is no different. The grant will be administered by Southern Alleghenies, and then the local match that would be required would then be divvied up amongst the participating agencies. Blair County would be one of them. When we did Alleghenies Ahead, we signed the resolution, we signed the contract, and we paid the bills. The other counties, with the exception of Cambria, who's set up very similar to us, the county commissioners did all of that. We're still working that out with the commissioners. That said, their meeting is on the 21st of May. So what I'm asking for is authorization to sign the resolution that would allow us to participate should the commissioners not want to do so. So it puts us on the hook for, what was it, $6,500? $6,250 of local match if we were to sign that, which again, that would just come right out of local share. And then if the county signs it, we'll work out how that's going to impact their payment to us.
So there's no numbers on this at all at this point in time?
Just the estimate that's in here. That's in the agenda here. So $6,250 for each of the counties. It's a total local match of $37,500, and it's a roughly $250,000 grant.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and like I said, when we did Alleghenies Ahead, the BCPC itself was the participating agency. There was no pass-through through the county or anything like that. We worked directly with Southern Alleghenies. I don't mind doing that again. It works well. However, when we do other types of plans, sometimes it's the county that signs off and then things pass through it. It doesn't matter one way or the other. I just want to get it done. But once we decide which way that goes, we're working with the commissioners on that. If it comes down that we're going to be the ones that sign, I need authorization here to do that because we need to do it by the 21st. That's a motion.
Do I hear a motion to approve the letter of support?
So moved.
No, it's a resolution.
A resolution?
Yeah.
Do I hear a
So moved.
motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
All right. Number 11 on your agenda is another letter of support that we wrote for there is ABCD Corps is applying for a grant to the DCNR for ATV grant funding to support an economic impact study of the Central Allegheny Highlands, so that it's essentially a feasibility study to see if the trail system, adding ATV use to the trail system would bring economic prosperity to the surrounding communities. And this would be Blair County, Cambria County, Center County, and Clearfield counties. this was consistent with our comprehensive plan because of our priorities related to recreational amenities and natural assets, including promoting greater local usage of outdoor recreational assets, investing in the improvement and expansion of targeted recreational assets, and promoting the use of parks and trails for personal health. The proposed economic impact study would contribute to the development of a more comprehensive plan for the recreational area that considers multiple aspects of community development. And the proposed trail project would provide ample recreation opportunities for visitors of various interests and abilities, as well as improvements and accessibility and safety to the existing trails. So overall, the concept is needed and appreciated, and once again, is consistent with our comprehensive plan. Any questions on that one?
You say add ATV to the trail system,
The trail system that exists
like
currently.
like the rail trails, like add ATV?
No, this is a specific area, the Central Allegheny Highlands area, that it's like it's like an area of game lands, I believe, that's right in between Cambria County, Blair County. It like impacts, it spreads through all of those areas, but it's not our entire trail system.
Pedestrians and ATVs would be on the same trail.
Could be.
Could be,
Yes.
that's the potential.
Potentially. For certain areas, they're just seeing the economic feasibility of where that would be beneficial. That's what the grant is for, the impact or the economic impact study, to see if adding ATVs to certain areas would benefit the surrounding communities.
Do you understand the impact of ATVs to trails? I mean, is
Do
that part
I
of the
understand them?
study?
Yes.
I mean, that's part of the study?
Mhm.
I hope so, because they chew up a trail real quick.
Well, does the Pennsylvania still have the requirement that these ATVs have to be permitted and stuff
Yes,
to ride
Yes.
on staking?
yes. And
As long
that's,
as that provision's complied with, because you're gonna get people flying through there with all kinds of crap. Need some regulations.
Mhm. the ATV registration is actually where most of that pot of money comes out of,
Yeah,
the grant funds.
I know I had to go through that
Yeah.
with mine.
Yep.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the ATV Economic Impact Study Plan?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Okay.
All those against say nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, number 12 on your agenda are the last of the staff level reviews. These are the grant and permit applications that have been sent out throughout March and April so far. So you should have received these in your email. Once again, they're just permit and grant. Some of them are grant applications, but mostly permits.
Wow.
Any questions on these? And feel free to take a minute to look through them. You should be seeing next month a lot of, what are they, small water and sewer grant applications. Those are going to be due soon. So I think the next two consent agendas that will be coming to you, you will probably see a lot of those, because a lot of our municipalities and our local water authorities have been submitting applications, just asking for letters of support and consistency.
So these are renewals.
Yep, most of them.
So do you need a,
I do
Motion.
need a motion on these.
do I hear a motion to approve staff level reviews?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
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 All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
You have in your packet the revised bylaws that were presented 2 months ago. Just to go over, purpose of the update is basically to regionalize the membership instead of doing it by municipal type. The primary change is on page 3, Article 3, Section 1. You can see the listing there. So that's the primary change that was presented. We did get a email in. One of the other changes is to change the title of the presiding officer to president. That is still in there. I did get one email requesting that be changed to chair or left at chairperson like it is now. So whichever way we want to do that, I'll make the change if it's necessary, and then we'll get them out. That's
Dave,
pretty much the change.
On the Region 3 thing, where does that put me?
Your seat will eventually go to Region 5, which is Hollidaysburg. But that will be, the way it was presented is it will be an organic change as things naturally would change. We're not kicking anybody off the commission.
It's been 4.
So it's 2 regions. Nick and Jim's seats were assigned to Region
Well,
3.
I mean, if it's necessary, I'll resign.
But yours was assigned to Region 5, but the whole point of this was as reappointments, as it organically changes, when your seat comes up for an appointment,
Yeah, the back's
it'll
still
go.
here, I just can't find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
He'll go with it, won't
Hmm?
he? He'll go with it.
yeah, if you want to stay on, it would stay on for another term yet.
You're not going to
We
be
weren't
required.
going to
leave.
require to make anybody leave. That was one of the whole points behind this. But the reason we're doing this now is because with the way the membership is right now, we actually happen to have somebody from every region except for the southwest corner. And it just,
He's Region
this was the
4,
time to do it.
Roger.
This is, like, Bill went off, they could have replaced Bill with somebody, say, from Logan Township or something, and it would have started messing everything up again. So it's, we had a Region 1, we had a Region 2, we have, the 2 regions, everything was already there.
Yeah, you had a hole and you just
we had-
fill it with what you have.
Yeah. So that's what was there. We had 2 members from Region 7, which is the Cove. Tom is gone, so his seat has been converted over to Region 6, which is the southwest corner.
So
And we
my
are still
regions-
looking for somebody for that region,
Put
so.
names with these. Can we put names with these then?
Region
Yes.
1 would be,
Herb,
no, yeah, who just got reappointed? Lewis.
okay.
Region 2 is Herb. Region 3, there's 2 seats. It's Jim and Nick. Region 4 is Ben. Region 5, there's 2 seats again, it's population, that would be Larry and Pat. Region 6 is vacant, that would have been Tom's seat. And Region 7 is you.
Okay,
But we need Region 6 filled.
okay.
So we need
You will
names.
be doing a breakdown list with the names on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that's in the member handbook.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've seen
Yeah.
it somewhere.
So, right along with this, this does not need to be adopted, but the member handbook, we haven't updated this since 2018, so I decided while we're doing this, we'll just update it. You'll notice towards the back,
It's a map.
is a
Page
list
4.
of everybody.
Maps on
It's on page 19. That's a list of everybody. You'll see the little number down at the bottom under term. That gives you what region you're representing.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, this goes over duties and responsibilities as assigned by state law. The mission statement that the board adopted probably 12 or 13 years ago now. It has a map of the planning regions, which doesn't photocopy very well, but it's there. And then guidance on parliamentary motions and just other little miscellaneous things that help out. And then a list of the, on the table of contents, there's a list of all the plans we have available electronically, so, which kind of play into what we do. So, but we do need a motion on the bylaws to adopt them.
Do I hear a motion to adopt the bylaws stated?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
Just
I guess you don't like the yays.
Now I think they're cute.
You're so polite.
I try to be.
That's gonna be the headline for the article.
Yay.
Item 14, April was a month that was pulling me all over the place here. Just figure I'd give an update on some of this because it's going to impact us and come back around to the commission eventually, at least most of this. There was a combined sewer system public outreach meeting. This was actually back in March. It was the first of a series. They're not going to be very frequent, but frequent enough. They are looking at basically the entire Upper Juniata watershed, but it's being spearheaded by Altoona to do something about the combined sewer overflow. Combined sewer overflow is where the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer run together. And when you get a major storm event, it tends to overwhelm the sewer treatment plants, and we end up with little odd-looking fish in the rivers, which is not the best thing. So they're looking at ways that we can mitigate that situation. I expect that we'll probably start seeing the impacts of that, mostly through our development reviews from our perspective. There is a presentation that they developed. I debated bringing them in here this morning, but the agenda looked long enough. So I may ask them to actually come in and give that presentation to the board at some point. National Planning Conference was at the beginning of the month. We went out, a lot of stuff on housing, transportation, and hazard mitigation seem to be the three big focal points. There is a lot of energy being focused on energy at this point. So I'm expecting that's going to become a big topic for planning over the next few years. For better or for worse, a lot of the conference was spent basically as a gripe session as to what's happening at the federal level with the funding and the programming. Agree with it or don't agree with it. Some of it was probably not in the best, it wasn't the appropriate venue for it, I guess is the way to say it. Most people go there to learn something and to be able to pick up skills that can be applied back. And just a lot of people very, very bitter over what's going on there. Did attend a number on the housing issues, and the quote I picked up, it was said a number of times, is we need to stop making affordable housing and start making housing affordable. And basically, a big part of our housing crisis is the fact that we're trying to segregate it financially, and that doesn't work. We build affordable housing. I remember when I lived in Iowa, we lived on one side of the road. The other side of the road, the city had put in subsidized, what was supposed to be subsidized market rate housing, if that makes any sense. That's what they called it. It was right on the edge of town, and it was regular housing that was built, and the city subsidized people who might not be able to otherwise afford it to buy into those houses. Well, they bought into those houses. There was a restriction on how long they had to be there before they could sell them back, or sell them on the market, I mean. And every one of them bought the houses, sat on them for 5 years, and sold them for whatever the market rate was, and they were no longer affordable housing. And it didn't do anything for the long term, other than make 24 people unexpectedly richer than what they thought they might be. And there's other programs that do that type of thing where we're hitting affordability. We're worried about the affordability, and rightfully so, but it's actually starting to have the opposite impact. And then there's the whole missing middle component that we understand fairly well here in Blair County, where that middle section of income, that middle type of housing, where we have high-rise apartments almost right across the street here. We have a lot of single-family detached. We don't have a lot in between, and we have a lot of stuff that's on the lower end of the scale, even market rate. We have a lot of stuff that's the big McMansion stuff, but there's a lot that's missing in the middle there. And what happens is, I buy my starter house for $95,000, $100,000, and I have little Johnny, but then little Janie comes along and I need 3 bedrooms and there's nothing on the market. So what do? Well, I can remodel a house, which is not always possible, or I can buy above what I can really afford, which is not financially astute, or I move out of the area where I find the housing that meets my needs. And that's generally the option a lot of people take. The other thing it does is, all right, I'm eligible for this missing middle. I can buy up, which I'm not going to do. So then I buy down, which then the people that could have afforded this are now buying down. People could have, and it creates like a downdraft effect on the housing market. So it makes it feel like we're missing affordable, the low income affordable housing. But really what's happening is the people that could afford higher are buying that out and leaving the people that need it destitute of housing. And that's a national problem. We're missing, I believe, 4 million housing units nationwide was the number that was thrown out. We could build 4 million units tomorrow and just so meet the need. So it's no wonder why housing is so expensive. You know, you just do basic economics. When demand outstrips supply, the price goes up, and so that's a big part of the problem. Couple interesting sessions on transportation, some new concepts in terms of getting people around, and again, there's a lot of sessions devolved into gripe sessions, and agenda pushing, I guess I'll call it that. But some of the good ideas, one of which is actually pioneered here in Pennsylvania, right over in Clinton County, with this idea where you take what we would call Blair Senior Service buses, where they go out and pick somebody up and take them in to the doctor or whatever. And a lot of that stuff, like if it's a dialysis type situation or a regular medical treatment, where you know that bus is going out, say, you know, I say this because I saw it every morning for years. Bus 23 went out to Williamsburg every morning and came in. And I don't know who they were picking up. I don't care. But they basically, I would follow them from Williamsburg. They turn off. I'm assuming they're coming this way. They turn off at Frankstown Road and go up and over. That bus ran there every day or every other day. And well, we know that bus is running there. Let's just formalize and call that a route. And then anybody that lives along there would know that bus is there and would be able to pick it up for cost savings, basically. And it would also free some people up to do that. So that was an idea that was starting to get promoted at the conference. Just some ideas that way. I did hear some concerning stuff yesterday about some changes that they're talking about, but I have not heard anything formally. But again, that may be where things are diverting into gripe instead of fact. So, but overall, it was a good conference. It is online right now. They've been doing an in-person conference, then 3 weeks later they do an online conference. They've been doing that since COVID. So the online portion started yesterday. It goes today and tomorrow yet. So if there's a couple other sessions that look interesting, we might just jump on them. When you pay for the in-person one, the online one comes with it, so it's available. We met with the Allegheny Highlands Association of Realtors, speaking of the housing needs. They are interested in being actively involved in trying to come up with solutions to those needs. So we are actively working towards that, and again, that may come back around to us. We're trying to see if there's something already active in the community that can be adapted to looking at this need and coming up with solutions for it. Because the housing need is not just, oh, let's go find some funding and build affordable housing. It's bigger than that. So we need the affordable housing people at the table, but there's an economic part, there's the realtor part, there's the developer part, there's a regulatory part, and all this needs to come together to truly address the need. So we'll be looking at that. The PA Transportation Alliance is a group of people that, it's basically a lobbying group and an advisory group. They look at transit needs and transportation needs of people who cannot transport themselves for whatever reason. It tends to be inability actually to drive, but there could be other reasons. There is a big concern right now statewide with a sustainable and permanent source of funding for transit. SEPTA's looking at, SEPTA's the transit agency in Philadelphia, they're looking at something like 40% cuts. Pittsburgh's looking at some kind of similar level of cuts because we don't have a good way of funding our transit systems. They have a big concern. They invited a number of us to sit on their last meeting where they presented their concerns. This one, frankly, is probably out of our reach, but it is a concern. I'm sure it's going to impact Amtran, just maybe not to the level of some of the bigger transit systems. Southern Alleghenies CAP. The CAP is the stormwater management for the entire Chesapeake Bay watershed. They've been working with the conservation districts for the last number of years. The Southern Alleghenies CAP was regionalized. The 4 counties that need to have a CAP that are in the Southern Alleghenies region got together and went to Southern Alleghenies. And Southern Alleghenies is actually coordinating the CAP for this region. Blair is one of the 4. Like I said, they've been working with conservation districts on best management practices, identifying projects, getting projects into the ground, and basically just trying to improve things for the bay and for the watershed for that matter. Last year they identified that a lot of what they're working on really should include the planning commissions. So we have a meeting in 2 weeks, I believe it was, May 6th, I believe that's 2 weeks, with them to kick off the planning commission part of this. So that will be forthcoming, and I may have them also come to a meeting to explain what's going on, so you're aware of that. That will dovetail nicely with the stormwater plan, because we'll be getting involved with that at the same time we're involved with this, and they'll inform each other very well. And then last week I had received an invitation from the Lieutenant Governor's office to attend this Aging in Place regional engagement. The Department of Aging, if you remember, they presented an aging plan here a little better than a year ago. That plan is ready to go, ready to be adopted, and the Pittsburgh region, Allegheny County, I guess you could say, has had an aging plan for the last 10 years. They update it every few years. And there's a couple ways this could be looked at. The state is going to become an age-friendly state, the 13th one. AARP has a number of standards that it's kind of like LEED and things like that. If you meet these standards, you can get a certification. So AARP, and then I think it was the World Health Organization, adopted them as well, but you can now be certified as age-friendly. And Governor Shapiro is going to be getting us certified as age-friendly as a state. But we could also adopt our own aging plan. It may be also possible simply to say, hey, we want to participate in the Pittsburgh plan, which may or may not be to the benefit. It depends on what Pittsburgh's focused on and how well it dovetails with us. The whole idea is, how many times in your life are you needing to uproot yourself and move simply because of different phases of your life? And aging doesn't necessarily mean, oh, yep, I'm past a certain age and now I'm declining. Aging, like they give you a little purple bag, it says we're all aging. Aging can be your life transition after your late teens, early 20s, or whatever it is, when you're finally stepping out on your own. That's going to be a transition. I think most people agree you're going to move at that point. But then aging may occur again as, okay, now I'm married and having children and having more children. The children are doing that, now the children are gone now. And all those points along the line, how many times do you have to disrupt your life and pick up and move, or just basically relay routes just because of the way society and the economy are impacting us? And for the benefit of others, we have to pick up ourselves and move. And so that's kind of where this looks at what we're going to do. They are looking at having another one of these workshops here in this region And since they had already reached out to us, I think that's why I was invited. The whole thing I was invited was to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, we want to do one of these in Southern Alleghenies. So that may be coming up as well.
We
probably
need a
later this year.
workshop for that, called How to Survive Multi-Generational Housing.
Yeah.
Because my family's been doing it for 3 generations now.
And that's what we're missing. Yeah, that's where it goes. So, but that's kind of what's been going on, getting pulled every which way the last month. So, and I'll throw this out for Rhonda if she didn't do it ahead of time. Those little ethics forms are due next Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So
I have no ethics, so I don't think
we know that.
You know what he knows? His wife told him.
Yeah.
repeatedly.
So yeah, if you can fill them out, if you want to fill them out before you leave, we'll take them and get them filed for you. But, I just want to throw that reminder out there as well. 15 doesn't work because she's not here. So
It's the first. Did you
First
say
of
the
May.
15th?
Oh, it's May 15th.
No,
May
she said
1st.
number 15.
What?
She said she left. She's like,
No, she thought the ethics form was due May 15th.
Oh.
Maybe.
well,
it's
that's why
May
you say
1st.
number 15.
years and years ago it was the 15th, but yeah, it's
Yes,
the
May
first.
1st.
Years and years.
Years and years ago, that has to do with aging.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Hey, that's what
Okay.
So you're down to 16.
Okay.
So we're on to item 16, Planning Commissioners Forum. This is the opportunity for the Planning Commission members to bring any items relative of interest to the attention of the body as a whole. Well, one thing, I would like to thank all of you for allowing me to chair this meeting and put up with me. So, in all the years that I've been working with planning and doing this, it's the first time I've ever chaired a meeting.
You're doing great. I honestly could never tell. This was your
So,
first
yeah,
time.
I heard the snickers.
Not for me.
She was snickering at me, not you.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great job. Media.
So, we're now down to the questions from the media.
I'm good.
Sure?
Yeah.
You don't have any Snickers, nothing to ask?
Nope.
Okay, very good. All right. 18, announcements. April,
You want to plug your activity with the curve? There you go.
May 10th, if you're available Saturday night, come out to the Curve. It's a free event. It's going to have games, prizes, activities, entertainment. There is a glow-in-the-dark walk that uses our Lakemont Park Walkworks route. The Curve has never done a glow walk before, so this is the first time. It's going to be super fun. Like I said, it's free entry, and all of the proceeds for the whole walk is to benefit Family Services Incorporated. We're partnering, I had mentioned this previously, but we're partnering with AmeriCorps. The AmeriCorps volunteers housed at Altoona Family Physicians, and one of her big projects is to do some kind of community event for homelessness awareness, and so that's kind of, we partnered with her on that and came up with this event. So if you're interested, like I said, it's Saturday evening, May 10th at the Curve, and if you're not interested,
Buy a t-shirt anyway.
yeah, I'm selling t-shirt, well, I'm not selling
We have
them. We
t-shirts.
have t-shirts that the donations will go toward Family Services. Also, we have tickets for the Curve game, that's on May 2nd, that's next Friday. That is a fireworks show, so it's Friday at 6 o'clock. Like I said, it's a fireworks show, so if you're interested, we have discounted tickets. Once again, the proceeds all go to Family Services.
Yeah.
We're just organizing the event. But yeah, come out, it'll be fun. I don't know, I'll be there. Well, how much more fun can you have? And then the rest is just stuff that's coming up at the end of this month and then in May.
Yeah, that is an event that we have been actively organizing, so it is kind of a planning commission event, and Walkworks. And so
It's our kickoff event for
it's our
Walkers.
kickoff event for Walkworks again, trying to revitalize that program.
Okay, I guess this is it. I hereby call the meeting
Need a motion over.
to adjourn, so I need a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Get with it.
Yay.
Motion.
All
Did you
those
make the motion?
against say
I
nay.
did.
Thank you.
Hearing no nay, motion passes. We are adjourned.
Those lights being down drive me
I'm
nuts.
sorry, Jeff has to make
Turn them back up. I feel like I'm sleeping.